Brooke and Laura here today for Lawyering Outside the Lines. It's Tuesday, so there we are. This month we are going to switch up topics. Last month we had a great month talking about diversity and inclusion. If you didn't get the opportunity to watch all of those videos, I encourage you to do so. This month we are talking about virtual law firms specifically. Because that term is, used and interpreted in different ways. So today we want to clarify what a virtual law firm actually is and what it looks like. And apparently people are chainsawing stuff outside. I don't know. Anyway, so what is a virtual law firm? You hear the term virtual and think about something distant or not real. Really hoping that the perception of that word has evolved, especially during the pandemic, as everyone has started to realize that virtual and remote are real things. So, but it's not really true for this virtual law firm model. So this law firm model is actually a viable alternative business model for real actual lawyers. Laura and I really are lawyers. We are licensed to practice law. But it's a way to connect with clients in a very meaningful way. And the legal consumers are actually really driving the change in the way that we are providing our services, whether we like it or not. And they're growing more comfortable conducting their business online. So that's why it's important to talk about this topic and to understand what it is and how to deliver services this way. So fully virtual law firm, which is what we have here in Arkansas, is a web-based law firm model for the delivery of legal services, heavily utilizing tech tools to provide easier access to legal consumers and also the flexibility to meet evolving consumer demands. So a virtual law firm is a real law firm. It's bound by the same procedural requirements and ethical rules as a traditional brick and mortar law firm, with the real difference being the method in which services are actually delivered and the way that you interact with clients. So a few things that a virtual law firm is not. It's not simply just communicating through email or working just remotely. Those are perks, but that's not what it is. But that does not in and of itself make your law firm virtual. It's also not just a website with some kind of intake form or a call to action button. We should all be on the web, just FYI. And it is not just another legal document prep company.
So let's talk about some benefits of going virtual. There are definitely a lot of benefits to you and to your consumers for delivering services using this model. Virtual practice requires, this is a big one for attorneys, virtual practice requires fewer overhead expenses because you don't have the physical office space and the staff in the traditional kind of way. Brooke likes it when I tell people that when I used to work for Westlaw, I saw a lot of things that I thought were a little bit crazy in the physical office spaces that I went in many different states across the US. And one of the things that she likes the best is that they pay people to come in and water their plants instead of people just watering plants. So like staff watering plants. And that's, one of those overhead expenses that you don't necessarily have to have if you have a virtual practice instead of a traditional brick and mortar. Another benefit is that with outsourcing and automation, you don't have to hire a full-time staff. You have the flexibility to work when, where, and how you want, which is huge for a lot of us. I think as a profession are starting to move more towards non-traditional type thinking. And like Brooke said earlier, with the pandemic, I think a lot more people are embracing the idea of working remotely, which is not a virtual practice, but then that can transition your thought process into a virtual practice. Another benefit is that your services are more easily accessible to potential clients because your reach is greater online. If you're not requiring clients to drive to a brick and mortar office, maybe it's an hour away, 2 hours away, you can really cover the entire state with much more ease. Brooke and I do that in Arkansas for the entire state from the comfort of our homes. So it's a lot. We have a broader reach and a broader potential client pool because of it. Another benefit is being paperless also reduces expenses and allows for easier access to case information. And then also a virtual model can more easily adapt to the changing legal landscape to better meet consumer needs. The more stuck in a particular way that you are, the harder it is to make those transitions. I remember, practicing and also working for Thomson Reuters Westlaw when paperless started to become a big thing. And, going into offices, I don't know if anybody else remembers those huge file cabinets that you could move around, and in order to access client files is just, that's very hard to put all online. So it's much easier to be adaptable if you are a virtual practice model. What are some virtual law firm business structures? As technology advances and service professions evolve, legal consumers are really also driving a change in the way that they utilize legal services. They want it a certain way, and the shift in demand is causing the legal profession to reevaluate how lawyers provide legal services. And one movement that is becoming increasingly more prevalent is the reinvention of the law firm model. The traditional law firm model with brick and mortar offices, mounds of paper files, those movable stacks of client files, and the attorneys that are, bound to the restraints of their desk space, that's facing more challenges and pressures, especially this year. But really, honestly, even if the pandemic hadn't happened, it's been moving this direction for a long time. The non-attorney legal service providers have really recognized that there are unmet needs in the legal services market. Convenience and affordability are two big words that Brooke and I use on a regular basis. Those are two huge words for us in our marketing and in our efforts of outreach to potential clients. And unfortunately or unfortunately, depending on your train of thought, those non-attorney legal service providers have really stepped in to fill that role, because attorneys have often been, in many states, very resistant to the idea of changing that traditional idea of practice. So they have stepped into that role, and those services cut into a huge untapped market, the middle class legal consumer, and we need to be in that space as well. So with the growing do-it-yourself DIY trend that these providers are offering, the non-attorney legal service providers that are people and also the document kind of just pay for this and fill it out yourself kind of providers online, they're really an attractive option to many legal consumers, and they don't face the regulations that attorneys do, which is a huge problem that we need to really address. Although attorneys add tremendous value to any legal matter, traditional law firm models don't always allow for that accessibility in location, but also in finances. So there is that huge untapped market that we're talking about. The traditional law firm model typically offers full legal representation and is not necessarily obsolete, because there are always going to be people that need that full service model of practicing law. But we need to become more efficient and more responsive to consumer demand by utilizing technology, minimizing overhead, and provide competitive services to the average legal consumer. We're not talking about those huge Enron type things, or the people who want to fight out their divorces, or a building construction clause that needs to be litigated. The average legal consumer, which is a large group of people, they need an alternative. So the fully virtual law firm model is a law firm that utilizes technology, kind of like what Brooke said earlier, to deliver legal services online. What does that look like? It's entirely web-based. We're talking about what we offer and what we base our idea of the virtual law practice versus working remotely or something like that. This is what we're talking about. It's entirely web-based, communicating and sharing documents primarily through client portals or other software. This model is going to allow the clients to access legal services more conveniently on their own time, and also helps reduce your overhead. Virtual attorneys can work remotely, so we are remote, we just also are virtual, two different things. And we have more flexibility in where we work physically, when we work, and how we work. Virtual law firms are a combination of many things, email, automated documents, user-friendly website, utilization of cloud-based software, which is a huge one for us, outsourcing, remote teams. It's a combination of a lot of different things, and it's for us, it's primarily how we deliver our services to our clients. How are we communicating and providing that value?
totally give you way more to say than I thought. And then when you started in, I started laughing.
I just kept on going, and I was like, I'm going to keep on going.
Sorry, it did not seem like as much before. Okay, so hybrid law firms. Laura's going to get to breathe for a minute.
Drink some coffee.
Oh, no, sorry. I just over here watching you and listening, like, tell them. That's my whole role in this script today. Sorry about that. You didn't cough at all, though. That was good.
Hey.
Yeah, you made it. So the other kind of firm is more of a hybrid law firm, which may be more practical for some of you. But the hybrid law firm actually offers both traditional full legal services and kind of a la carte or unbundled options. Within those services, whether that's just standalone or that's something that kind of leads into your more full service legal services. So these services are mostly provided in person, but technology may be utilized as well. Again, Laura just talked the whole time about how many benefits there were and how that works and how it's convenient for clients. But hybrid models can take kind of different forms. Oftentimes, the hybrid model is going to utilize even like an alternative fee structure, typically offering, some fixed fee services alongside their other services. Hybrid law firms often have a brick and mortar office space, like a physical space where you go in, but also hire or allow employees to work remotely, and they provide services virtually for a component of their firm. They also allow for creativity in how the attorneys are providing these legal services. So like I said, part of it could be a completely virtual experience. And these law firms may choose to outsource or use different service delivery mechanisms. Like we talked about how we operate here, that may be a part of their law firm model, not necessarily the whole model. But this model can also help to reduce some of the overhead. It also provides a level of flexibility to attorneys that is not something that attorneys are accustomed to in traditional practice. And it also allows clients to access to more affordable and a personalized legal experience. So there's benefits to both, and it just, it matters what kind of practice you have and what your goals are to which way you go. So, the whole point of kind of differentiating and providing those options is to help you see that, one, we wanted to find virtual law practice for you, but also so people better understand it, but also let you know that every virtual law firm does not have to look exactly the same. It doesn't have to be exactly like ours. It doesn't have to be the same practice areas. It doesn't have to be the exact same workflows. You have a lot of flexibility there, and you do not have to be 100% virtual to be able to increase efficiency and add a virtual component to your practice. So we're going to wrap up now. Poor Laura, sorry. That was funny. But anyways, thank you guys so much for joining us today. We're going to be back here the next few weeks talking to you about more virtual law firm things. So hopefully you're interested in that, and we can kind of guide you in some of the more important things to consider when you are, considering or just even interested in a virtual law practice. We will be back next week at 1 Eastern, 12 Central, 11 Mountain, 10 Pacific. And we hope to see you then. Thanks so much for joining us today, and have a great week.